So you all know what the chair does. I mean, basically, the chair does as little as possible and tries to make sure that any things we have to do. Now, I have to say that the BCS are getting rather more specific these days about what groups have to do. There are groups all over the country, and obviously, depending where you are, your group activities are likely to be quite different, because we can always have our meetings here. If you're in Clitheroe or Aberdeen or wherever, and so they tend to have everything ranging from meetings in pubs to social or community meetings. Now, we never have community meetings. We have London South Branch member meetings. We have in London South Branch, what, 3,000? I believe 3,000.
Just short of that.
And of course, we compete for meetings here with London North, London Central, who also have huge memberships, because the way the country is, the Southeast is where everybody is. There is also London West Branch, but they don't seem to impinge. The current president of the BCS, that's the annual appointment, not the full-time admin man, is London West. He's the chair of the London West Branch. So what else? I mean, frankly, I'd rather just hand you over to either Chris or Emma. First. I think Chris is volunteering. So, Chris, the treasurer.
It'd be useful to take a roll call, wouldn't it? We've got 9 people online, including the 4 in this room.
What do you want me to do? Just list the names, but
well, I can screen capture this. So
yes, I've got a note of who's here.
Right.
Okay. I've added who's online, so I know.
Super.
I know who is here. So yes, I'm afraid this meeting is probably my fault, really, because I, at the last AGM, I said I'll do 1 more year, and that's what I meant. It came as a shock to the chair when I said in February. Of course, I'm not standing again. And thought, oh, you meant it. So at the moment, I'm the treasurer. I've been the treasurer since 2008. I've enjoyed my experience with the BCS. I've served on various committees. I think I joined what was then the Croydon branch in 1989 as education liaison officer, purely because they didn't have one of those. Okay. I used to do school careers evenings, but there's an awful lot of schools in the London South area, and parents are now geared up on IT. If you go back to the 1980s and 1990s, parents didn't know anything about IT, so weren't able to advise, whereas now the schools just ask their parents for somebody who's working in IT to give a brief talk about it. I think that's fine. So we don't need to engage with schools so much now. Jim has been education liaison officer for a while and used to work for Kingston University. So that is really where we would need more education liaison with. There's Roehampton in our area to build contacts with. I think Royal Holloway is just about in it, isn't it? But the function we've concentrated on the last few years is organising meetings, which are out here. So find a suitable speaker who can speak on a topic that we think will be of interest. Get the speaker to produce the synopsis and a brief mini bio that we put on the website. Is there the opportunity to publicise it elsewhere? How would we do that? Obviously, it tends to be me who sends out the emails. I think I've been doing the meeting coordination role, and that's been our focus. So one of the hard bits is, I think, is identifying the speaker, because there's obviously some sort of grand speakers. At times we've tried to get a speaker from Microsoft, which is you know, it's no good emailing, you know, someone at Microsoft. It just, you know, you might as well throw pebbles into the lake, you know, it makes very little difference. You've got to know somebody, right? We did a few years ago, I think Sam, one of our committee members, found a contact, I think, in Microsoft. I think a few years ago I attended a talk organised by the Reading branch, which is actually Microsoft offices at Reading, which was, you know, so there are people at Microsoft who are willing. Now, I had the advantage of working at IBM, so I could get speakers from IBM quite easily, or more recently working at Vodafone. I've retired for 2 years, which is why I'd like to hand this over. So we're looking for people with contacts who can then follow through on the administration of actually getting people to come to the talk. Do we have it online? Do we do hybrid? Do we just do it here? And you know, and get the speaker here to present on the topic. He said he's going to present on. So you know, and say we obviously need that. The actual treasurer role isn't that difficult because BCS HQ actually control all the money. There isn't a branch bank account. You know, it's just kept. It's an entry on a spreadsheet at BCS HQ. I need to authorise expenditure, so there's an admin function there. So it's normally been me who organises the sandwiches that we have here. The BCS,
and the wine.
And the wine. Yeah. We don't actually pay for the wine. The odd things, I should say that quietly. They don't ever charge us for the wine, but never mind. We have a budget and we can order sandwiches. The BCS is keen on reducing the budget for branches and particularly wishes to reduce the amount spent on food. It's something like 3/4 of our budget goes on sandwiches we have after the meeting. That provides the opportunity for people to chat. Without the sandwiches, people just go home. That's it. At the end of, you know, the speaker stands up here for an hour and talks, there's a few questions, and then people head for the door. There's no, you know, no discussion, no chat. So, hence why we think the sandwiches help. So that's a battle to be had with HQ. Yeah, and it does depend. I mean, we have only had 3 meetings here in the last year, and we've only spent about half the budget available on that. So I don't know quite how we're going to reduce it, but it depends how many meetings you have. If you have 6, you're probably spending all the budget on sandwiches. Yeah, it's obviously a decision for the next committee meeting. So I think I've waffled on enough. I'll hand over to Imo.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously agree with everything that's been said. I was really grateful for the massive response that we got for our little email back in July, saying people wanted to succeed with the branch. And, you know, besides trying to put on a programme of between 5 and 10 events a year, I think we need to look at ways in which we can support our branch members in other ways as well. So there's been all kinds of events in the past, and I'd be really interested in hearing what people would be interested in doing. There could be site visits, for example. We've done a few of those in the past, haven't we?
Yeah.
We tried to organise a one-day conference to celebrate the BCS 50th anniversary. Unfortunately, the take-up was not sufficient to go through with it. We could think of doing one-day conferences and that kind of thing. Specialist group on testing, for example, has 4 one-day conferences every year. You know, there's really no limit to what we could do, provided the members would want to do it. And we can collaborate also with other branches, particularly the London region ones. One of the things that hasn't worked very well, actually, is making sure that the events going on in this building are coordinated in such a way that you don't have multiple meetings on the same subject on the same night, you know, which clash with each other. Yeah, so that's really what I wanted to say. What I suggest we do is, you know, if people are interested in particular roles on the committee, be it publicity, be it education liaison, inclusion, or indeed early years early careers liaison, treasurer, even secretary, I don't mind. Please come forward and, we've got roughly 3 months until the AGM. So you can see how the role works. We wouldn't need to co-opt anyone just to help. But if you then find that you're happy to participate further, put yourselves up for election at the AGM. I can't remember how the constitution goes. Does it say we can elect up to 6 committee members and co-opt up to 3 more?
Wasn't aware that there was a restriction.
Well, at various times there has been and there hasn't been, and there wasn't yet.
Right.
So,
I mean, really, we need to organise an AGM.
yeah,
And then we could elect to.
that's it. So really, what we'd like to do is have each of you say a little bit about why you came forward and what you hope to get out of it. Most of you would like to start.
Oh, yes, of course. Good evening, everybody.
Perhaps it would be better.
Oh, really?
If you
I
if you came up
straight
here,
in
then
stage
those who are online.
stage frightening. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Moses Kajashi, and I'm a newbie in the industry. Really. I work at Kew Gardens as a first-line IT support analyst, and I started working in IT about a year ago. My first job was at Female University. That was a slightly similar role. And my aim to work in cybersecurity. When the pandemic came and we lived under lockdown, I enrolled in an IT cybersecurity course. And I found that fantastic. And I obtained some certain certificates, including this field, and CompTIA and the CH from EC Council, for instance. And I still study and still preparing for other certificates. So my goal is to get more and more certificates, because I think it's a good way to develop. Since, as you found out, I'm a career changer, so I'm swapping really career, and I start a new career in IT and cybersecurity that I wish, hopefully. So briefly, that's it all about me. If you have any questions, answer, or we move forward maybe.
Are you interested in any particular role?
In this organization?
Yes.
Well, actually, not particular, but I'm happy to undertake any task if I get. And, well, probably I'm very much interested in the role. I mean, in that kind of area because that's about me as well. So how to start a career and how to develop a career at the early stage that I am now, and also cybersecurity, because that's my love.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
My name's Maya, and I would say currently I'm an engineering student, just completed first year. And my university is what introduced me to the BCS, and as a person very interested in computing and IT, it's like the society feel like I could get and meet people who have similar interests, even people working in different fields but have a knack for IT and computer science. And so when I got the mail in July that the branch is not managing to get enough staff to run it, I was like more than ready to help through anything, so that we can keep having meetings. I had like a couple workshops, and it was really fun having sandwiches and meeting people. And I get to meet a lot of different people. So I would actually like for this to go on forward. And that's why I came forward, so I can make this help happen. Nothing else.
Thank you.
Have you ever been to one of our meetings? Not our branch meetings, but I mean, one of our speakers, one of our 10 events a year.
The speaker meeting? I came here for an NFT one.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember the NFT. Yes.
This is pretty recent. I just joined the BCS as a member, so I'm pretty new to all of this.
Right.
It's very good. Shows great enthusiasm.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I feel we should applaud these people. And this one's for you.
Hi, I'm Christopher Hunt. I'm an IT lecturer at Croydon College, and my interest is partly in getting people to come and talk to Croydon College students. I've also worked at South Thames College, at Southwark College, and South Thames now includes Kingston College. My students go off to Kingston University, which is in our domain, South Bank University, of just out the campus in Croydon, just across the road. I don't know whether they are offering computing in that university, but
Do you know, South Bank used to be South Bank Polytechnic?
yeah,
And I went to a computing lecture there in a workshop in about 1975.
there you go.
So they definitely have a department.
Oh, they definitely have a department. I went to an event they organised, but not in the Croydon campus, in the one on the South Bank of the university. They're doing a lot of interesting work around Web3 and taking control of your own data and getting monetary value of the data you contribute, which is, I mean, good luck. Good luck to anybody who thinks that that's going to work. I think.
Well, it ties in with Tim Berners-Lee's initiative, doesn't it?
Yeah. I still think Facebook and Microsoft will work out how to keep it to themselves. Yeah. So yeah, I'm interested in sort of getting my students to come along and know more about it. Maybe having some of the events at Croydon College, getting some of the other colleges. John Ruskin College is I also taught there. I taught English GCSE there, not IT. Getting more involvement of the education institutions.
Before you go, have you any particular role in mind?
Well, a kind of education liaison role insofar as getting in touch with IT lecturers and getting them to attend these things, and maybe even organising some kind of a hackathon for students.
Okay, it's a stupid question because it's obvious that the area you're in and the area we were ranked in. Excellent, very good. Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Richard Byrne, and so I'm currently the Application Services Manager at the Law Society. And before working there, I worked at Ambulance, I worked at BMI Group, and I did 10 years working with the NHS, looking after computer systems there. So that's my background, really. And yeah, in terms of BCS, I only recently became a member myself, actually. And I guess I really enjoyed coming to the talks that have gone on. I was also at the NFT talk as well, which I thought was brilliant, and the quantum one recently, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was brilliant. And I was actually surprised that there wasn't more people attending, actually, because there's such great talks. I thought it'd be, we'd have a lot more folks tuning in. So yeah, I think
We need more publicity.
Possibly more publicity. Yeah. So yeah, I guess Emma, when you send your email and use the word peril. So
I think that's true. Because, if Chris steps down and one or two others have other calls on our time. I mean, I'm coming up to retirement in 3 or 4 years. There just aren't enough people to just generate ideas and come up with a program of things to do.
absolutely.
And we've seen mergers of branches in the past when there didn't seem to be enough momentum there. I think we're now down to 4 London region branches, aren't we? North, middle, and south, and
Yeah,
central. And west.
it's always been the case with London. It's the Surrey branch closed.
Well, we used to have a separate branch in Kingston and in Croydon.
Oh, yeah, yes, that's true. Yes. It was me who, I was chair of the Croydon branch when we went into the merger.
Sure, so I just felt the need to respond really and see whether there was anything I could do to volunteer and to help. And I guess in terms of any of the roles that you're looking for, I wasn't aware until coming here tonight. But yeah, keen to kind of understand a bit more and yeah, see if I can help at all. So that's me.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Matt Williamson. I'm an IT service operations manager for a travel company based up in Aldgate. I was a member of the BCS for about 5 years when I was self-employed. My membership lapsed for I think about a year to 18 months, and I've just recently rejoined. Obviously saw the email and was sort of keen to sort of come along, see if I could get involved in some way. I've actually sort of recently taken over leading our link group at work, which is our LGBTQ plus group. So probably quite interested in your inclusion officer role. Something I'd be quite keen to sort of take a look at doing.
Right, now, Emma, are you able to unmute the people online?
Yeah, sure.
You have managed.
Well, people are permitted to unmute themselves, so we've got 4 more people online. I'll just take them in the order they appear. Frederick, would you like to speak?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Frederick. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Right. My name is Frederick, and I work at Ocado Technologies as IT admin. I got to join BCS when I was doing my CompTIA A+ with a learning institution, which they introduced BCS to me. I've been a member for almost a year, but I've never get myself involved with anything. So when I got the email that they need volunteers, I said, why not? Because it's a great community. I would like to join and actually know what they do actually, because I've been wondering what BCS stands for. So I think the best way to go about is to be part of it and to serve. And that's why I have availed myself for any role given, I'll gladly accept.
Would there be any particular role that you've got in mind?
Yes, if you have any role pertaining to IT, I'll do it, but I don't know the roles available. So
okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't, as a branch, we don't have any IT infrastructure to manage. You know, BCS takes care of our website, our branch web pages.
Well, it does require someone to do the admin function and say what we'd like up.
That is true.
So we don't directly control the website. Somebody at BCS SQ, some BCS HQ. It's the webmaster.
But I'm available for any role at all. I just want to be part of it.
That's great. I mean,
Can you hear us at this end? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Good, all right.
super. Well, next up will be Vipan.
Hi, my name is Vipan, and basically, let me walk you through my experience first, my work experience. I've just finished 14, coming up to 15 years with KPMG in their CIO advisory department. specializing in 3 areas, which is basically IT strategy, IT finance management, and data management. Having said that, I've actually got experience in setting up the office of the CIO down to governance, down to operations as well. In terms of education, my background, I've got my undergrads in computer sciences from Kingston University, and then I've got an MBA from London Business School, which helps me bring IT and the world of business together. Lately, I'm focused primarily on a couple of areas, which is the IoT the world right now and how that fits into data analysis, as well as into machine learning and artificial intelligence. Currently doing a lot of certifications around that and also working around that in terms of real input into businesses. The roles I'm quite interested in are the education side of things. I believe IT is running away at a really fast pace, and it's really important that there's some sort of interaction with the educational communities and institutions to help the BCS members keep abreast of what's happening in the IT arena. The other area which I'm really keen on is also the inclusion side. And the way I understand the inclusion side, it means amongst other things, also the disability part of it. And the reason I say that is actually, I have a bit of a disability with vision, and I can understand, I really relate to how people have difficulties in how IT is being delivered and how disabled people like me are having difficulties, even though things have improved a lot, how people are having difficulties in actually managing their careers in this kind of space. So that's me in a nutshell. By the way, I'm also been a member of the BCS for over 20 years. I'm a fellow at the moment.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Next on the list is Sename. Can you hear us?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, great. So my name is Siname. I'm just getting into IT. I'm switching career. So the past 10 years, I worked in international business, and now I'm studying to get into cybersecurity. So I've done a boot camp as a developer. I've got some cloud certifications, and now I'm completing my cybersecurity bootcamp and doing a networking course. So I've been a member of the BCS since beginning of this year. The reason why I wanted to join and help is because this kind of communities has really helped for my career transition. And I think that it's a great way to get to know people in the industry and to learn. And also I do feel like the IT industry in general needs to be kind of, how can I say, updated in a sense that when it comes to like inclusion, whichever type, when it comes to, like you mentioned, education. So that's why I wanted to contribute as much as I can. What else could I say? A role that would interest me. Honestly, I don't have any requirement, like if I can help in any way, like organize events or whatever, I'm all for it. And also maybe the inclusion part, because am I the only woman here tonight? Because this is something that really that really shocked me. So yeah, any way I can help.
Will be so.
Thank you very much. Last one is Yannick.
That's Jalal.
Is Jalal going to introduce himself, do you think?
Oh, well, Jalal's already a member of the committee. But if you'd like to speak, Jalal, put your hand up.
Hi, my name is Jalal. I have been with BCS since 2008. I'm primarily just Java developer, tech lead kind of roles I have been doing for the last 22 years. Yeah, so it had been fun, enjoyed with this such a nice company of Chris and Emo and everyone else as well. It was a really great journey so far. So yeah, that's me.
Put the light on, Jalal. We want to see you.
Everyone know you anyway. So you're fantastic.
Okay.
Cheers.
And Yannick.
So say again.
So Yannick, I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it
Yeah, that's Tubney actually.
Right, hello.
Hi everyone. Hi. So I'm Yannick Tubney, and I'm currently in second year at studying cloud computing in the university, and I've learned a lot of things because this is like a total career switch to me. Before I was a chef, and I've always been interested in IT and technology. So when I was given the opportunity to study it, I was really fascinated, and it was like a brand new world to me. And I discovered so many possibilities, and the fact that you can learn a lot every day without actually being full about it. So I joined BCS about 7 months ago, and I can't really say, but I've been a dormant member, and I've been thinking about how to contribute in a way that I could help also the community and everyone, because at the end of the day, I want to know lots of people, because from what I've been hearing so far from everyone seems to be fantastic. Everyone seems to have different ideas. Everyone seems to know something that I don't know, and I believe I can always learn. So yeah, I want to be able to participate, chip in, and at the end of the day, also collect as much help and information I can from everybody. So yeah, so far, if there's any way I can help and contribute any post or any stuff I can do, I'm all for it. And thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the introductions. I'd have to look back through these, but I noticed that some people
We
did
haven't got
very
there's
specific.
no one else. We've done everybody now.
Yeah.
Look, can I just say a few words about a few words. I'll stand up. What's in it for you? I think that's what I say a few words about. Now, possibly nothing, because it depends on your efforts. What you get out of it, it depends on what you put in. There are two areas really where, there are two areas. You may wish to promote yourself. Let the world know you exist and that you are doing stuff and what you're doing. And I would have to say that being a member of a BCS branch committee is not the most productive way of doing that. But it does. You can put it on your CV. There you are. You also and your role, and say if you have a role. But we also say you don't need to have a role. You don't have to have a specific role. You can simply be on the committee in a general purpose, shoulder the wheel type thing, as and where necessary. Another thing, of course, it doesn't do anything for your BCS. If you're in the BCS in order to improve your employment capability, and it won't, being a member of a branch committee won't do anything in terms of improving your BCS grades ranking. However, there's something which a lot of people find very important is networking and socializing. And prior to COVID, when all our meetings were on site somewhere, then part of the evening was to listen to the speaker and to learn what one could from the speaker. But then the second half of the evening was always to network and socialize. And so one of the biggest chunks of our budget has always been food and drink. We don't go in for any sort of 3-course meals or anything, but there is always enough, nibbles and a glass of water or wine or beer. some branches, I suspect, I mean, this is, doesn't really apply to us, but some branches, I'm sure, up country, they meet in pubs, and it's, the socializing and networking thing is the key bit to it. In terms of promoting one's, no, I shouldn't say that. I think I've already made a mistake of not a mistake, but it's rather insulting to say to you might want to do this in order to improve your CV, as it were. But it does improve your connections. Not quite the same as networking and socializing. It's networking, I suppose, where you're able to approach people you know and say, ask them whether they could actually present to a committee meeting. And there is a degree of, I mentioned earlier that there's the London Central branch, there's a London North branch, London West branch. There is a degree of sharing speakers between branches. So you actually communicate with other branch committees. I think that's about it. No, there isn't. There's something else rather important. What was the important thing? Can you help with this? Oh yes. IMO has a major role in one of the specialist groups. And the specialist groups, of course, if when you're trying to explain what the benefits to you and the BCS are of these branch meetings, it's not nearly as cut and dry as it is when you have a specialist group. So if you want a specialist group, then IMO can tell you that you're not up for a specialist group committee role tonight. So, but IMO could tell you what's about specialist groups. And also we do share speakers to some extent with specialist groups, don't we?
Oh, yes.
If a specialist group gets a particularly good speaker, then we're hot on the trail of that person to come to.
Right. The specialist groups are a source of speakers. So if we've decided we want a specific subject and that coincides with one of our specialist groups, then the obvious starting point is the chair of that specialist group, and either he will or else he'll find somebody within his group. In theory.
Yeah. I started by saying, what's in it for you? We don't get paid, by the way. We don't charge our expenses.
Well,
however,
expenses can be claimed.
It can
but
be claimed, but
not for attending a branch meeting. All right. If we have a committee meeting somewhere, I mean, we normally, well, for the last few years, we've just had them on Zoom. So there's no expense. But you can claim for travel to a committee meeting. And obviously we pay the speakers' expenses. Traveling, we once had somebody who travelled down from Manchester, but we try to avoid that really.
There is one more thing on this networking and socializing and promoting oneself with the BCS. The BCS before COVID used to have annual events for committee, for branch committee members. And they would have it where they had such things.
Well, they still do, but it's just moved online.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I am dead against online. I have to tell you. I mean, I don't think it's the same at all. I find it very difficult to network and socialize, and I find it impossible to drink wine and eat sandwiches online. So,
ask a question.
No, I just
the BCS events for committee members were usually in central London. So people came down from Edinburgh for the weekend and on expenses. That's it. They if you're in Edinburgh and you come to London, you obviously do claim your expenses. Sorry, I'm going to shut up now.
just a
It's time to say something.
assuming we are going back to normal. So I mean, in that as well. So we resume our habits in that we schedule just the same then prior to the pandemic, hopefully soon. Well, it's
As Chris said, we've had 3 hybrid meetings so far this year. This financial year, which is August to August.
do you find this more comfortable or?
Personally, I have no problem with face-to-face meetings. I prefer them. But as you can see, we've got the technology here to involve people from remotely as well.
Yes,
I think what
the
happened,
technology has improved greatly here.
this
since
brings
we
me on
started.
actually to a point I wanted to make. We've kind of been bound by tradition in having all our meetings on Tuesday night, always at the same time, 6:30, and usually for an hour, give or take. North London do it quite differently. They tend to have a panel of speakers, each of whom gets like a 40-minute slot. So the whole thing goes on for longer than our panel discussion at the end. So that's a different format, and we could think about doing different formats, or perhaps mixing it up a little bit.
Obviously harder to organise, because you've got to get 3 speakers. If you're having a panel of 3 speakers, you've got to find a date that A, you can get the room here, and B, all the speakers can actually make that date in person. Yeah, it really depends on what the committee wants to do. It has to be something to do with IT.
Yes.
And it has to be of some benefit to a subset of the members. We've got something like 2,700 members, of whom, if we're lucky here, we'll get 20 to 30 people here, and maybe another 20 online if we're doing well. But okay, and it does shift from meeting to meeting. So it's not just 50 people that we're dealing with. So over the year, maybe about 200 people benefit from our services out of 2,700. So, why?
What's the tendency in terms of how many people turned up year by year and in the past 5-10 years or whatsoever?
Okay, without doing a proper analysis, as I say, attendance here, we would expect 20 people here, 30 would be a good attendance, and then there'll be some online, 12, 20.
Increasing or decreasing or steady?
Obviously during the COVID period, we went entirely online. I mean, there was, I think one of our meetings online had over 70 people coming.
It very much depends on the topic, and the topics that seem to go really well are those to do with history, because you'll get all the old people turning up that used to work at ICL and whatnot, and
we did have
reminiscing
on the history of telecommunications in London,
particularly South London. Yeah, and that was actually well attended, and there was some interesting stuff in it, I must say, even for people like me who weren't involved. So that goes well, and obviously, any really new topics. Something that occurs to me we could do is to involve families. So in the SPA specialist group, we once did an Easter thing where, because Easter Monday is a bank holiday, we organised it on that day. And this was when BCS was still back at 5 Southampton Street. So what we did, we got some Arduino boards. You can get these little kits. And there was some deal whereby we could get like 20 of them at ridiculously low price. And so we invited people to bring their kids and build the kits and follow some of the instructions to build various things with the modules. I remember one father and daughter proudly showed off this line of LEDs, which you could move it left and right and spit out something. So that was quite a success, and it got a lot of kids interested in doing IT, which previously they'd seen as rather dull and boring, because at school all they were doing was Microsoft Office. So that's the sort of thing one could do. There's no reason why we can't do stuff at a weekend instead of in the evening, or take a whole day, or we just got to try a few things, I think. So I'd be quite keen to. Right, the thing we've got now is that there's meant to be a program of events between now and Christmas, starting in September or October, including our AGM, which is when? October?
I think we've got a date, because we don't have a speaker for it.
Right, but I mean, last year I think we held it in October, didn't we?
We did, yeah, the accounts will be finalised in September, and I'll do a report. The usual financial report for this year.
So
October's normally.
let's start by trying to solicit ideas for attractive subjects that are going to be of appeal to a large number of, or a large proportion of the branch, and see if we can get a program together. So, yes.
We do have a committee meeting on the 16th of August.
Ah, good point.
Extend the invitations to anyone who.
So in terms of the number of committee meetings we have a year, how many? 5? 4? 4?
Roughly
4 or 5.
4 or 5. So, you know, the burden of attending committee meetings isn't great. And although I said I hate these online things, online committee meetings are fine. Because, you know, because there's only a handful of us, we can all actually, would you agree? I mean,
Yes, I think the committee meetings works very well. Certainly
the branch meetings for the branch members, and by the way, I mean you'll be aware of the fact you don't have to be a BCS member in order to come to BCS meetings, and you certainly don't have to be a London South branch member to come to London South meetings. But my view is that, you know, they have to be alive and real.
Yeah, so let's do that. If I invite everybody here, send them the agenda for that. So I'm going to send them.
I'll set up a Zoom meeting.
Great. So yes, I've been a bit remiss about sending out agendas because they're generally exactly the same. But this one might be a little bit different. So if any of you could come along and maybe put your thinking caps on beforehand, particularly regarding events that we can organise. And yeah, by all means, if people have volunteered for specific committee roles, I mean, I don't know how you do this. If two people put up their hands and say they'd like to be involved in inclusion, how do we do that? How do we resolve that? Do we get them to arm wrestle?
Well, you could just say they could work together on it.
I think that's a very good idea. And then see who ends up taking up most of the burden. Yeah. Excellent idea.
To be fair, they've identified 3 different areas of inclusion. So LGBT,
yeah,
women, and disabilities. So
disabilities, yeah.
Yes. Function.
Any other sort of ideas that you came along with that you'd like to contribute at this point?
Just wanted to ask one question.
Yeah.
You mentioned about getting speakers in and topics that would really engage the membership. Have you ever reached out to the members to get an idea of what they might be interested in? Any like topics that they're really keen?
Yeah, we did that. We did a little survey that was 2 or 3 years ago, and it basically came back with more or less the same stuff we were already doing.
we didn't get very many replies.
Oh, really?
The response rate was quite low.
Right.
So it's probably only the people who sometimes attend our meetings who actually responded, and therefore they asked for what we were doing already.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can try that. Again, we've done surveys every few years. Yeah, it's not very illuminating. We tend to get people moaning that, you know, saying that they'd like different food or something, because we used to send out something asking for comments after every meeting, but we tend to get people moaning about the lighting, or they sat at the back and they couldn't hear the speaker very well, you know. So, well, why didn't you come down the front?
The quality of the sandwiches.
So yeah, there tends to be comments on the quality of the sound or the visual or the visuals or the sandwiches. It's, you know, yes, I think sandwiches are good, but they're a minor point of it. The purpose is the speaker. Yeah,
I'd agree.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you find the involvement of like students like me? It's like in university, like I didn't see any more students coming in when I came in the last meeting as well.
We're always keen to involve students. It's the BCS has something called student chapters, which can be set up in conjunction with the student union. You may be interested in pursuing that, so you could set up a chapter at Westminster University. Maybe one, for all I don't know, maybe one there already. So you know, perhaps that's something you can have a look at.
I'll have a look at that.
Yes, I mean, we're very keen to get involvement of students and indeed the staff as well.
I think, Jim, you analysed what the problem tended to be with students, student attendance.
My hearing's failing me.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a fairly clear. I mean, you analysed basically why it was that it was difficult to reach students, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
You told us about it at past committee meetings.
Well, I'm unwilling to talk about difficulty of meeting students in the presence of an important college. Many colleges and universities have computer clubs, and they've got nothing to do with the BCS at all. I have not found it terribly productive to try to involve those people in branch activities, because often they're actually psychologists or whatever. I tend to think of the BCS as being a trade body, a professional body. So the BCS attempted to tackle this by having these things called student chapters, where they would support in various modest ways specific BCS groups in school, in universities and colleges. And typically they thought that the university or the college would welcome this, and would, that the admin of the university or college would support it. But I think they found it wasn't actually that easy. And typically they would go around, and I've been engaged in doing this on behalf of these, so they would go around to at the beginning of the degree period, what they call the first week.
Freshers Week.
Freshers Week, yeah. So they at Freshers Week, typically there'll be marquees up or something like that, and there'll be lots of little stands in there, and they would attempt to get for clubs and so on and so forth. They'd attempt to get one of these groups set up then. And of course, students in their first couple of weeks don't join anything, but when it comes to actually sticking with it and so on and so forth. So something you pressed a bad button here, because I can ramble on about this forever. The BCS, for some strange reason, decided that they should start addressing schools rather than universities and colleges. And they were much more, and I think probably still are, quite active in addressing schools. But it's partly to get the school teachers on board, and it's also partly to get funded by the government. The government will have all sorts of funding schemes to support education, higher education, where the government tend to think, well, the universities can look after themselves because they're money-making operations, whereas schools aren't. Yeah, I can't remember what the question was.
Well, I think we looked in the past as to why it was that our evening meetings didn't in general get much attendance from students, even when we held them at Kingston University and advertised them throughout the building.
Well, you know, if you had an evening meeting at Croydon College, how many students would hang around to come to it?
Nothing. Not very.
Exactly. I mean, we should have had the meetings in the university in the middle of the day when the students are around.
Possibly, yeah.
And have it in the student union premises if possible, and so forth.
Yes, well, I do remember that there was we had a person who was a lecturer on the master's degree course at Kingston, and he made it a compulsory thing for his students to attend. I.e., if they want to pass the exam, they have to attend the BCS meeting, and that worked for a while, but whether that's really the thing
I
should do, I don't
I do
know.
recall that.
That is a few years ago.
Look, I mean, there are all sorts of things we could talk about here, but I'm old and grey and beginning to keel over. That's why we're only having a 1 hour meeting. I'm good in the morning.
Well, we
should
do
always
have to
our, we
finish
should
at
have
8
our branch
o'clock.
meetings.
Can I point out,
So
we've got 3 minutes.
I'll wrap up now, but oh Christ, you're throwing me off my stroke now. Where was I going? Yeah, we don't have to have our meetings here. You know, we could, for example, this is quite convenient for certain people working in London, but it's far from convenient for everyone working in London. And the funny thing is that if you're in the North London branch, you still have your meetings here. And if you're in the West London branch, you can have some of your meetings here. Central London, obviously, this would be the place. We used to be the Kingston and Croydon branch, and we used to have our meetings in Kingston or Croydon. And on the whole, I thought that was a more effective way of reaching membership than doing what we're doing now, because we're always empowered to have meetings in Central London if we cared to, but we could we could put ourselves around. And I regret in a way that an ambitious former chair of this branch somehow required, thought he would be better off being chair of the London South branch than being the Kingston Croydon branch. Look better on his CV, I'm afraid. He's passed away, so he won't come round and beat me up. So yeah, but I mean, for example, if your company had something special going on, and they wanted, to draw in some sort of audience which they wouldn't normally reach, we could, consider having a branch event meeting at their premises. Or we could say, for example, look, you people, our members, all need to have the opportunity to go and see the National Physical Laboratory. So we'll set up a meeting at the National Physical Laboratory and invite them there. We haven't actually done that for years. So we've stuck with this place.
We have had a visit to the National Physical Laboratory, didn't we? Or I've certainly been on a visit there at some time years ago.
No, that's why I mentioned it. But I mean, there must be a number of places we could go. What we need is some young, vibrant people with creative ideas.
Yeah. BT had an Office of the Future thing, exhibition, sort of how your mobile phone is going to follow you around. Everybody's going to know exactly where you are all the time, whether you're on your.
The BCS is attempting at the moment to be very creative and have all sorts of initiatives going. And of course, the online thing has made it easy for them now that everybody's online and used to it. And I intended to warm myself up for this meeting by attending something online at noon today